4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to J.E.D.I Lunch Break Live here. I am Holly Holiday. I am your J.E.D.I Master, and in case you haven't been a part of our discussions in the past, J.E.D.I stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. These are concepts that we talk about every single week for about 15 minutes or less. We are currently working our way through the last part of our series on implementing equity plans. And equity is really about the business of creating fairness and equal opportunity and access. And so we think the best way to do that is to be intentional about your planning with that. We have been focused on outlining the 4 cycles of a key equity plan. And that includes, see, you know it's live because you got phones ringing. And that includes, in our 4 cycles, that includes the planning stage. It includes implementation. The 3rd cycle being monitoring and evaluation. And in our final cycle, it is sustainability and scalability. And the thing to keep in mind and the reason that we refer to these as a cycle is because you can enter this cycle at any point. The key is that you just want to be intentional and you want to have a plan. And so we've been walking through how to do that and how to actually have a plan. So we started with the planning cycle, which included conducting an assessment and setting objectives and making sure you had stakeholder involvement and identifying resources and a legal review. We then went into the implementation cycle, which was about leadership and governance, training, creating pilots, rolling out those pilots and being clear about how you were going to communicate about the work. Our 3rd cycle and dealt with monitoring and evaluation, which included things like data collection and feedback loops and giving yourself space to make adjustments and the importance around transparency and keeping your stakeholders informed. And then finally, reporting. And now we are rounding out scalability and sustainability, which is not only our opportunity to continue this good work and expand it, but also exponentially grow it so that it can exist in all the places and spaces within our span of control and sphere of influence. And scalability, we talked about documenting our best practices, looking at ongoing resources and funding, maintaining our community and stakeholder involvement. And today it is about policy integration. So let's jump right into policy integration. And when we're talking about policy integration, we're making sure policy integration is really the linchpin for long-term sustainability. Because when it is a part of your policies, it is no longer solely dependent on the champions or the people who think it's a good idea to keep it going. When it's part of your policies, it begins to be institutional. And so this is critical to long-term sustainability and, frankly, to being able to replicate it so that you're consistent in how you're rolling things out. So policy integration is our big conversation for today. And to be honest with you, I could not be more thrilled and excited because when you get to this point, it is clear that you're using not just a sustainable approach, but a structured approach to ensure that equity will be involved in every single part of your organization. Once you put it into policy, and let's be really clear, but for equitable policies, we would not have equity in our workplace because we don't have any laws except for anti-laws that address equity specifically, not at the state level, not at the city level, and not at the federal level. What we do have is a very intricate interlinking set of policies that certainly start at the federal administration level. Notice I'm saying these are administrative regulations and policies, not what they're not is they're not statutory, which means that they have limitation and scope based on the authority of that administrative office. We see that replicated in some, but not all, state administrations. And then we also see those same policies replicated privately in our workforces, in both corporations and nonprofits, and all of the places. But again, it exists in policy. And what that does provide under our current legal system is it does give each workplace the opportunity and the flexibility to create policies that really work for them. So, first thing to do when thinking about policy integration is to assess where you are. You got to start by reviewing, what do your current policies say? How are they dealing with all of the relevant pieces of your business? Which means this isn't, again, just an HR function that deals with what happens when you hire or take people through the employment life cycle, but what are you doing as it relates to your sales team, your marketing team, how you're communicating with your external clients and customers, how you're communicating with the general public. Every single thing that your policy covers, you should make sure that there's an equitable lens that's also codified in your policies. And you do this by first taking a look at where are the gaps and where are the concerns through assessment. Next, you want to establish some clear objectives. Why are we doing this? What business interests are we seeking to serve? How do we continue to kind of keep those interests alive and well? And of course, for me, I am always looking for the social impact and companies and nonprofits who are interested in valuing not just the services that they service products and value that they provide, but that part of that value is also got a social impact narrative that goes with it, that we're interested in reducing disparities and fostering inclusivity and not just promoting supremacy. Once we've established clear objectives, we need to think about the stakeholder engagement. We need to think about how they are also part of our policies, be that through, and in the many ways that we engage, not only in community organizations or advocacy groups or people who are affected by supremacy, but also what does it mean as we're engaging with government as well? We want to make sure that the policy that we bring to bear is aligned. So policy alignment is crucial. And what are you aligning it to? Well, first and foremost, you align it to mission. You align it to mission. You align it to your existing goals and objectives. And you want to make sure that everything that you add is enhancing and adding value to your existing framework. Then let's start talking about what are we doing to provide training and capacity building. So this is thinking about things like, what does onboarding look like? What does offboarding look like? How are we ensuring that people are up to date in their understanding of the policy, but not just their understanding, but their practice and protocols around how they use the policy and how it shows up in their everyday. We have talked extensively about data collection and monitoring, and we know that is very important in terms of including mechanisms of both data and monitoring what our outcomes look like. It's not all about outcomes, it's also about accountability. And so promoting accountability, which we know is crucial to being able to hold people accountable to the goals. This is things like, are we establishing performance targets? Is it integrated into our work plan, not only at the organizational level, but how is equity being integrated at the individual level as well of work plan? We need to think consistently about how we are allocating resources And resources is, of course, going to revolve around money and things that are funded, but it also is going to revolve around staffing and infrastructure. And let's face it, how are we spending our time? How are we deploying our human resources? All of that is really what needs to be considered under resource allocation. And as we rounded out, the last two things that we really want to be conscientious about is continuous review and adaptation. As we evolve as people, as our humanity continues to grow and expand, so must the policies that help to govern us and help us to have fairness in our workplaces. We need to be constantly thinking and reviewing and adapting to real-time situations happening in our workplace. We will absolutely face challenges as well as opportunities, and the policies need to be flexible but firm enough for us to manage both. And then most importantly, if we do all this work, we want to make sure people know about it. We want to make sure that our policies are not just well known and used and practiced internally. We want to make sure that our external stakeholders and even the public are aware of how important we see equity in all phases of our existence. This includes everything from promoting and raising the issues around equity generally to supporting policy integration. There may be things that you want to do that engage with the media, with social media, and of course, including it on our website and making sure that you host it as key talking points when engaging community leaders or influential stakeholders. So they too can be an amplifier for how policies are codified within your organization and institution. Woo, okay, we made it through policy. Again, this is one of my most favorite things because once we get to the point where we're implementing policy, we really are talking sustainability. So this is just a little snapshot of some of the things you should consider when thinking about writing equity policy for your organization and institution. If you need, my final thought on policy integration is once you've gotten your ideas down and once you've laid out your goals and objectives and you get to the actual policy writing itself, work with an experienced employment attorney to help make sure that the policies are not only clear and concise for your workforce, but just as importantly, that they are not violating or running afoul of any laws and they do not create any red flags as it relates to protected classes. So you want to make sure that you definitely have an attorney look at that. In the meantime, if Holiday Advisors or myself as its J.E.D.I Master can help you think through equity plans in your workplace, we encourage you to give us a shout. You can email questions to jedi@holidayadvisors.com. We will be back with the last segment of equity plans next week, so we hope you will join us. My name is Holly Holiday. I am your J.E.D.I Master. I look forward to seeing you again next week, this same time, on the same day, Thursday. And until then, I want to encourage you to follow, and subscribe to Holiday Advisors in all the places, but particularly our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn. Until then, have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week. Did you enjoy this segment of J.E.D.I Lunch Break Live? I'll be back next Thursday. Come on back and bring a friend.